So you're driving down the street in your car and you come across a new condo site that's going up and you see a big bright billboard that says, buy a new condo now with only $5,000 down. So you start to ask yourself, can I really invest in a new condo with only $5,000 down? And there's a perception out there with a lot of people, maybe it's because of some of these ads like I just described or some of the media coverage, that you can get into the condo market with a very small amount of money down. But the reality is that's simply not true. If anybody tells you that you can get into the condo market with just a few $1,000s down or a couple of percent here and there as a down payment, do not believe them. It's bogus. And the reality is you need to have significant capital to get into the condo market. And for that reason, condo investing isn't for everybody. Okay, so how much money do you need to have to invest in a new condo in Toronto? Well, that's a good question, but before I answer that, there's a few things that you need to understand first. The first thing that you need to understand is how deposit structures typically work when you're buying a new or pre-construction condo in Toronto. 90% of all pre-construction condos in Toronto will require at least 15% deposit, but many of them will require 20% deposit. So a lot of people ask me about getting into the condo market with 5% deposit, and they see ads for 5% or sometimes even less to get into a new condo. But the reality is those projects are very few and far between. If you do find a 5% deposit program, it's usually in a building that is almost complete. And so the move-in dates are only a few months away, as opposed to getting pre-construction pricing where the move-in date is 3, 4, 5 years away. And the second thing that you need to understand is how the mortgage rules work in Canada. So as of 2010, for any investment property in Canada, in order to get a mortgage, you must have at least 20% down payment, 20% equity in the property. So even if you get a new condo with a deposit structure of 5 or 10%, when it comes time to final closing, you're going to need to come up to that minimum 20% mark in order to close on that condo and get a mortgage on that condo. So now let's talk about condo prices and how much you will need to invest in a new condo in Toronto. First of all, condo prices in Toronto are not cheap, and they haven't been for a very long time. So the mythical sort of 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo with parking on the subway line for $250,000, it doesn't exist. It hasn't existed for probably about 10 years or so. What we find is that most of my clients and most of my own investments, the sweet spot for condo investing is between about $300,000 and $450,000. That's where you find the good condos in good areas that you want to get into. And so with the deposit structures that we just talked about, most investors are investing approximately between $45,000 and about $90,000, depending on the purchase price and depending on the deposit structure when they're buying a new investment condo. Occasionally you do see good condos in good areas for under $300,000, but those opportunities are somewhat rare, and when those properties do come up, the competition is very fierce to get those properties. So what we find is most condos, they are in that $300,000 to $450,000 range. So if you only have a few $1,000s to invest in a new condo right now, I recommend that you continue to stay informed about the condo market, continue to learn about condo investing, continue to save your money, so that when the time comes, you will be ready to invest in a new condo. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Andrew Fleur, and you've been watching TrueCondos.com.